Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Substitute Scoop. Today I have Dr. Erica Christmas from Clarksville-Montgomery County Schools in Tennessee. My name is Jamie West, and I am here to give you the scoop. So, Erica, tell me a little bit more about your district and where you guys are located and what you're all about.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me, Jamie. I'm so excited to be here sharing more about substitutes and their managers. I am the director of classified employment and also direct the substitute program with Clarksville-Montgomery County Schools in Clarksville, Tennessee. We have a unique geographic position in North Middle Tennessee. We're actually situated between Fort Campbell Army Base and Nashville. So we're the seventh largest district in Tennessee with a student population of around 40,000 students and just over 5,000 employees. Our subpool currently is just over 460. And yeah, just excited to be here and talk about subs.
Yay, awesome. I love it. I love it. So, today we're talking really not just about subs, but we're talking about sub managers, right? Like, I know you and I both, we serve on the Substitute Management Advisory Council
That's
together.
right.
So, shameless plug for that for all of our listeners today. I just love listening to you talk about how, one, you're super passionate about what you do, which is just amazing to hear and to see. You in action is just awesome. Uh, and talking about sub managers, not just at the district level, but at the school site level, I feel like is something that's just a conversation that's kind of hard to have because we all work for a district. We're not usually on a school campus. So it's hard to get that lens and that view. So, today, I'd love to talk about what you guys do in your district for your sub managers at school sites, what that looks like, maybe who those people are in a day in the life. If you want to give us just a short spiel on what your sub managers at your schools look like.
Yeah, so we call them our sub program points of contact. So oftentimes, these individuals in every school are an admin assistant or they are an accounting technician. There's usually one or two that helps to manage substitutes who are coming into their buildings every day. And then they usually have a backup or two. And so we have 43 schools. And so we'll have anywhere between one to two points of contact in each school, plus a backup person who's managing the substitutes who are coming into their buildings every day.
I love that. So, these people who are managing subs, right? When you say manage, let's kind of clarify that a little bit. They're checking them in, they're welcoming them, are they giving them gifts? What's a little more to what they do in regards to managing those subs?
Yeah, if I could plug our Red Rover and Substantial Classrooms National Substitute Survey for just a minute, because we really use data from that to put numbers behind the narrative. We did still feel like there were some gaps in that narrative, and that really came with our connection from the district level to our points of contact
Mm.
in the schools. So we really just help them understand practical tools like telling a sub where to park the night before, so that when they get to the campus, they're ready to go when they arrive. We have teachers who will share lesson plans through like maybe a Google Drive
Mhm.
to make sure that a sub is prepared ahead of time because they don't have a lot of time once they get in there. And so by the time that the substitute's arriving at the school, we've got a point of contact there who is saying, here's a map, here's a little goodie bag for you, and here's where you're going. We do have permanent substitutes, one to two in each building. And so one thing that we charge them to do is to be in the front office when our substitutes come so that they can help guide them, down, the mazes of
Mm.
hallways and things like that, to make them feel comfortable, and welcome. But a lot of what we do behind sort of training our points of contact really is supported by what substitutes are telling us nationwide, and that feeling that sense of belonging, feeling that sense of welcome and making a difference is way more than whatever kind of paycheck that they're getting at the end. So we really encourage our neighboring teachers to make those substitutes feel welcome. And yeah, so we just try to train our points of contact at the school level with some of those really practical things that make a huge difference in the life of substituting.
I love that. So I like to ask little questions just to clarify for the listeners, as you can tell. So when you say we train our school points of contact, who is doing that training at the district level?
Yeah, so you're going to hear me say we a lot because I am over the sub program for our district, but obviously I'm not boots on the ground. And
Mhm,
so I have a fantastic team. I've got two staff members who help with our fill every day here at the district level. I have a substitute teacher coach who trains our substitutes and who goes out and does observations and mentoring with them. And then I have a staffing representative who's all things recruitment and retention. And so, actually, one really interesting thing that we did, this building culture with our school level managers is
mhm,
actually some of our strategic work that we've adopted for this year for the sub program. And one thing we did to sort of launch that is my team that I just mentioned went out during the summer to do some professional development for teachers and staff. And our target was those points of contact that I mentioned at the school level. And we invited them to come to training sessions where we gave them a lot of these practical tools and tips. And one thing that was really cool that we did is we grabbed one of our rock stars at the school level who does a superb job at taking care of every sub who comes in her building. And we had her join us, and so it really was this bridge between district, they like to refer to us as downtown,
mhm.
between the district and the school level, and really made it real for those attendees. And they took so much from it.
I love that. So when you train your sub managers, are you going to their school sites to have these type of PD, or are you bringing them to the district, or do you have like one area? Are you doing multiple? What does that look like?
It's all kinds of things. One thing that we do for our substitutes is we sort of have a virtual like office hours every week where a sub can come in and just tell us what's going well, what challenges they're facing. And one really beneficial thing that has come out of this is we are learning at what is going on in individual schools. So
Mhm,
we can target some of that training, and training might actually be a little bit of a strong word. But if we have a school who always has lesson plans and always makes their subs feel welcome, then from my position with the district, I make sure I reach out to that principal and say, "Hey, this doesn't seem like a lot to you, but it really made a big difference to this sub, and she's going to keep coming back." It works the other way too. If we start to hear of a school or a cluster of schools that maybe those having those lesson plans are not as readily available, that's where we come in and with data and with some of that qualitative narrative, we let the principal know, hey, we're not seeing lesson plans on a regular basis from your teachers, and this is not any sort of attack or anything. It is just we want to make sure that subs keep coming back. And we
mhm,
actually had a sub tell us that she loved everything about your school. The people were welcoming, but she will not come back to your school because there are no lesson plans. And that makes her feel so anxious.
mhm,
And so it is really, when I say training, it is really individual and targeted conversations. What I mentioned that happened over the summer, it's kind of like a conference where teachers and staff can come and select different training at the school level. And so one thing that we did is we sort of joined in that professional development by saying, hey, we're going to offer some sessions on how to attract and retain your substitutes. And we sent invitations to principals to forward to their points of contact and said, hey, make sure you're coming to this. It's the first time we've done anything like that. So, but it was fantastic, and we'll definitely do more of that. Other than that, it really is just that target. We figure out what's working well, what needs improvement, and we start having some of those individual conversations.
I love that. And what's great is that's really just customer service and kindness and taking that extra 5 minutes to send an email. That's constructive, right? Hey, y'all. Sorry to interrupt this episode, but I wanted to give a shout out to the sponsor of the Substitute Scoop podcast, Red Rover. Red Rover makes smart, easy to use software that helps K 12 schools handle the important stuff like hiring, absences, and time tracking. Over 1,500 districts have already made the switch. If you're interested in learning more, go to redroverk12.com to schedule your free demo today. Because you and I come from very large school districts compared to most people and most of our listeners. So, what would you say is a way that someone who is a small school district, let's say 3 schools, that maybe they're the only district sub manager and have a pretty tight schedule and may not have the capacity, what would be some advice you could give to them on that extra effort like you guys are doing, a system maybe they could implement that would be similar?
Yeah, I always, whenever I talk to other sub managers, I always try to keep in mind that not everybody is as large as we are.
Mhm.
I know, Jamie, we've had those conversations because we are similar, and we like to make sure that we're having conversations where it is very practical, and we have to think about budget, we have to think about time constraints, especially those smaller districts. And so there are just some really simple things, a bottle of water and a bag of chips and a thank you note. And I think for because we mentioned goodie bags earlier, and
Mhm.
I think that that's something that maybe could be prepared ahead of time, maybe over the summer. For the upcoming couple of months, some of those bags are put together, and just a note that says thank you for being here. A lot of things that make our subs feel welcome that our substitute managers can do is just making the faculty aware that a smile, a we're glad you're here, that goes so far with our substitutes. And that is sometimes the first thing they will say to us is, I walked in, people looked at me and they asked me how I was doing, and they said they were glad I was here. And it's just, I don't know why that strikes them that way, but my goodness, how that's free,
It
and
is.
it only takes seconds. And I think just making them feel like they are the most important people in that building when they arrive
Mhm.
is really important. Making copies of school maps, um, is really even a simple thing. Letting them know where they can go to the bathroom, and I think too for smaller districts. I'm not sure how feasible this is, but if there's somebody on the team, and maybe it's not the school based sub manager, but somebody on the faculty who maybe their job once a week and it's a rotation could come to the front office and offer to walk subs to their classes.
Mhm.
Something that's not a huge lift, but it really does a lot to make our substitutes feel comfortable, and then they want to come back and they learn your building, and then you don't have to manage them as much because they almost become a part of your community. So
Yeah. I love that, and I love the idea of a teacher. So I kinda wanna bounce off of that really quick because when I was a sub, I subbed at an elementary school near UCF when I went to college, and, that elementary school, I was almost always in 4th and 5th grade. And in 5th grade, I don't know if your district is like this, but in 5th grade, we have safety patrol, which are the 5th grade students who kinda get to be like the big dogs on campus and walk the kindergartners places and things like that. So they're kind of making sure everything stays not chaotic. And it's just an awesome program that we have. And there is a designated safety patrol kid who walks every single sub to their classroom when they check in that morning. So, and I subbed at a massive school. So there was easily a dozen subs every single day. And walked all of us to our classes. So if you don't have the capacity for a teacher to do it, another great idea would be a safety patrol. Or I know in
Absolutely.
the middle school and high school, you have student aides across the
Mhm.
country. I mean, there's students who get those extra hours to sit in the front office, or they're up there for another reason. Sometimes putting them to work might be a good thing and walking them to class. So I think that's always something too. That's it's so simple, and it's you wouldn't think that's thinking outside of the box, but that is thinking outside of the box, especially
Yeah,
for somebody who may not have the capacity and the manpower, especially the start of the school year or closer to the holidays, you're stretched thin, right? I mean, we might be stretched thin all year right now is how we
right.
all feel. So, I think the most you can do to make that impact, by not really doing a lot of heavy lifting, can make that small impact. So I love that you always emphasize the little impact or large impact that something as small of a smile and a welcome can
Yes.
do. The other thing too is, I mean, when they leave at the end of the day, turn in their class keys or their badge or whatever they had that day. Maybe turn their map back in so another sub can use it, right? And letting them know, like, thank you. Stopping the phone call or whatever it is, or just one little peek and nod and wave and like, we hope you come back.
Yes. Yeah,
Um, I mean, you get that at the grocery store from the baggers who are bagging your groceries. And like, we hope to see you next time. So
that's right.
you should have that same customer service to your subs. And I think that's just fantastic that you guys take that extra effort to really just mention those little things, make a large impact. Um,
Well, and
yeah.
Jamie, like one thing that kind of comes to mind too, with that is we started putting some recruitment on our
Mhm.
substitute managers in the school, and as when they're saying thank you for coming, did you have a good day?
Mhm.
That sub says yes, and then great. Would you like to come back tomorrow? We have an unfilled absence. And so it helps with their recruitment and it increases their fill rate.
I love it. I think that's fantastic. You know what we call that in, customer service world and retail world? That's dynamic selling, right?
That's right.
You've kind of got them, and you're just gonna keep reeling them in for the next day and the next day. And especially if you see students and other staff members responding well to them, not
Yes.
just because they're showing up and being
Right.
present, they're actually engaging with the students or asking you questions. Hey, where is the bathroom? No one told me this morning. And things like that. I think that's just, those are the people who care, are the ones asking questions. And I think making the sub managers aware of that and will make them more attentive towards those things if you're doing those trainings in summer and the start of the school to get them ready to be the best sub managers they can be for their
That's
subs.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So, I have one last question for you to wrap it up. We've had some great conversations today. If you could design the ideal support system for substitutes and sub managers for your district, budget not a thing. Okay. If you could design this ideal program for your sub managers, including that professional development or whatever you want to share with them, what would that program and that support system for them look like?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jamie. And I think one thing that comes to mind is we've, being at the district level, we're recruiting, we're hiring subs all the time. And so one thing that we identified that they needed was a one stop shop
Mhm.
for anything that they may need forms, policies, processes, handbooks. And so we create a sub hub. And so one thing that comes to mind, Jamie, is that would be a great program to have for substitute managers at the school level. I kind of envision maybe a hub where they can go online and they can hear maybe there's video clips of other substitute managers talking about what works in their school.
Mhm.
A place where our substitute managers can get some training. We are focused on training subs. So I think if we can provide some resources that helps to train our sub managers more regularly, I think we do a good job with the intentional piece,
Mhm.
but it's not as regular. And so I think, maybe building a hub where they can go to and they can have an element of interaction even,
Mhm.
and get those resources there. That would be great. Of course, having somebody dedicated to just going out to those individual schools and saying, "How can we help?" A couple of years ago, we did that. We ended up not having the manpower at the district level to sustain it, but we wanted to create this. We didn't. We wanted to actually abolish this barrier that it's us and them. It's not
Mhm.
us district to you school level. And so one thing that we did is we went out to the schools and visited with them and just said, "Hey, what's going well? What are you seeing? Can we help you with anything?" And so having more time to do that, that would be incredible.
I think that's fantastic. These are great ideas for our listeners to take away, and for Erica and I to continue the conversations with the Sub Management Advisory Council. And one day, hopefully, everyone will have the capacity and the ideal support system that we want them to have, right?
That's right. That's
Okay,
right.
awesome. So, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Erica Christmas, out of Tennessee. We are glad to have you. And thank you, listeners, for logging in. And that is the Substitute Scoop.